So today we're going to do a presentation and a demo and some training on Calico Enterprise Multi-Cluster Management. My name is Jonathan Sabo. I'm a solutions architect at Tigera. Today is July 29th, 2020. So I'm assuming most of you guys or you folks are familiar with Project Calico. Project Calico is the community that maintains Calico, the open source networking and network security solution for containers, virtual machines, and host-based workloads. Project Calico, we can be found at projectcalico.org. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Project Calico. And we encourage you all to join us on the Project Calico Slack at slack.projectcalico.org. There's around anywhere between like 4,000 to 5,000 different members on the Slack channel. There's a bunch of different channels there where some of our engineering team will hang out and as time permits, help troubleshoot and answer questions. We also have we announced the free training schedule and other announcements. Project Calico is a ubiquitous network CNI plugin for Kubernetes. We have over 150 plus active community members that are contributing to the code base. Calico is deployed very widely on hundreds of thousands of Kubernetes clusters and over a million nodes. Today, we're going to be talking about Calico Enterprise, one of the features and capabilities of Calico Enterprise called MultiCluster Management. We're going to start off just do an overview of what is MultiCluster Management. Then we're going to go over the high-level MultiCluster Management architecture. And then we'll do a demo and then some Q&A. What we're going to do today is we're going to install Calico Enterprise as a managed cluster. We're going to be doing that in Azure on an AKS cluster. And then we're going to join it to our management cluster, and you get to see the install and how we go about joining a managed cluster to our management cluster. And we'll get to see what that looks like together. So what is multi-cluster management? It's a couple of different things. From what we're going to be doing today is focused mostly around this first bullet. We're going to be using multi-cluster management as a single management plane to scale security across all of your clusters. In the multi-cluster management umbrella, we also have some other capabilities around federated endpoint identity, services, and policy. This allows you to have to extend the workload identity from across more than one cluster. So you can have cluster A, cluster B, and you can have refer to the endpoints in policy across multiple clusters. It's also centralized monitoring, alerting, authentication, and logging. But today we're going to be focused on just the visibility and troubleshooting aspects that are made available to you via the multi-cluster management capabilities. Being able to view all the clusters that you happen to have through a single management plane, and being able to compare and contrast and just gain the visibility and the awareness of what's going on with your clusters or your groups of clusters. So multi-cluster management, what it allows you to do is to be able to view all the managed clusters through a single pane of glass, to be able to have a single UI to browse through and be able to manage the policies, get a look at all the endpoints, see all the nodes in your cluster, the endpoints, what policies are applied to those endpoints, what labels are applied to those endpoints, be able to look and troubleshoot connectivity, manage policy, be able to monitor and audit the security and compliance of all your clusters in a single location. As you'll see here in just a little bit, Calico Enterprise has continuous compliance capabilities, and you can very easily and quickly browse across all of your clusters to kind of get like the state of your compliance across fleets of Kubernetes clusters. It's also the single source of authentication for all the managed clusters, so you can centralize authentication. And we also have support for the federated use cases, so federated identity, federated services. From a high-level standpoint, this is the high-level architecture of Calico Enterprise Multi-Cluster Management. Now, most people start out with a single cluster. And when you install Calico Enterprise, you can install it as a standalone cluster. It's an all-in-one cluster. Everything is all inside of one cluster. But typically what happens is people will end up having more than one cluster. They'll have another cluster in another region. They'll have another one for like a dev cluster, a QA cluster, a prod cluster. And after a while, you'll want to be able to manage these without having to browse from browser tab to browser tab, and we make that very easy to do with our multi-cluster functionality. So with Calico Enterprise, there's really three different cluster types. There is the standalone cluster type, and then there's the multi-cluster, the management cluster type, and then the managed cluster type. The management cluster is where all of the logging, monitoring, and alerting capabilities will be centrally located. So you can provision storage in a single place, and you can do things like set the retention period for your store, for the flow data and the visibility and all the intelligence that we collect, instead of having to manage that across sets of different clusters. You can do that all in one place. The managed cluster, when you designate a cluster as a managed cluster, which we're going to be doing here in just a little bit, the Tigera operator will set everything up for you, including establishing a secure tunnel back to the management cluster. And it will kind of transform itself from a standalone cluster into a managed cluster. You can go back and forth between the different cluster types. Today, we're going to start off with just installing a managed cluster. Maybe next time we'll go from a standalone to a managed cluster or to a management cluster. Today, we're going to start off with a managed cluster, and we're going to join that to a management cluster that I've already built out, and we'll see here in just a few moments. So Calico Enterprise Multi-Cluster Management, one of the unique parts of this is that our multi-cluster management capabilities span these different environments that you see down here below. We get the centralized control, the faster cluster deployment, and we do this in multi-cloud or on-prem, so hybrid environments as well. So our multi-cluster management capabilities will allow you to gain that centralized control, that centralized visibility from a single pane of glass, and you can have clusters in these different environments. Maybe you have some EKS clusters spread across the different regions in AWS. You have some clusters in Azure running AKS, or even maybe they're self-managed clusters, self-hosted using Rancher or OpenShift in one of the clouds, or potentially even on-prem with OpenShift on-prem, or either like upstream Kubernetes or VMware's Tanzu or Anthos. No matter where you have chosen, what platform or distro you happen to have chosen, Calico Enterprise will work in all of those environments, and we can centralize the management and the visibility and the threat defense and continuous compliance with our multi-cluster capabilities across all of those environments. Just some quick notes on some upcoming events. We have another one July 31st. I think that's a day or two away. So keep an eye out for these. We announce these on our free training channel and on the Project Calico Slack. But we also have the schedule up on tigera.io/events. I'm going to be back here on the August 11th to do the second part of multi-cluster management. We're going to get into the federated identity and services. So if you're here today interested in seeing that, we're going to be doing that on August 11th. I'm kind of interested to know, I'm still kind of debating whether or not to do it in AWS or doing it in Azure. If you happen to have a preference, you'd rather see it on EKS or AKS, toss us a note in the Slack or in the chat channel here. And we'll take a look and see what we end up doing. Today, we're going to be working in Azure. We're going to be working with some AKS clusters. And so everything that you're going to see here today, this is part of functionality that is part of Calico Enterprise. And you can try Calico Enterprise for free on your own via our Calico Enterprise Accelerator program. We've got, if you go to tigera.io/trial, you can sign up and you can test out some of the Calico Enterprise use cases. There's some really powerful capabilities. Some of the ones that I hear customers kind of rave about are the ability to do DNS policies, to be able to restrict outbound access from inside your cluster to named resources like RDS databases or the databases in Azure, things that you don't have control over the IP addresses that those names resolve to. AWS, for example, might be managing the availability RDS, so they give you this dynamic domain name, and you can plug that into your policy, and Calico Enterprise will take care of that for you, so you can control the egress connectivity from your cluster. There's also a bunch of troubleshooting and visibility and compliance capabilities. So feel free to sign up for the trial, check it out, and let us know what you think. Okay, so let's get going with the demo. So today, we are going to install Calico Enterprise for multi-cluster management on Kubernetes. If you go to the Calico Enterprise doc site, it's docs.tigera.io, and you come down here and you can see install Calico Enterprise, and then there's a couple of different options for managed cloud for Microsoft Azure AKS, EKS, GKE, and then also OpenShift and Rancher as well. Today, we're going to be looking at the single management plane for all clusters, and we're going to install multi-cluster management. We're going to do that together. So we're just going to scroll down here, and we can see that there's a couple that we go over some of the concepts, the different cluster types, some of the stuff we talked a little bit a few seconds ago. There are two different types. There's a management cluster and there's managed clusters. Today, we're going to be installing a managed cluster. The first, if you scroll down through the docs, you can see here that to install Calico Enterprise on the management cluster. So I've already gone ahead and done this for us. This is the Calico Enterprise Management UI, and you can see that that we're currently looking at the management cluster. This is the overall stats dashboard. You can see we get like packets by policy. You can see everything's all green, means that there's no denied flows. You can see all the policies, all the endpoints, all the nodes. You can see the CIS benchmark stats for this particular cluster. There's no global alerts, and it looks like there's currently no denied traffic. Let me come over here. You can see, I'll just give you guys like a quick tour of Calico Enterprise, and then we'll get back into the multi-cluster management setup. So this is the policy board. This is our policy tiers. This is one of the other more powerful functionality that comes with Calico Enterprise, the ability to have hierarchical policies. As traffic is evaluated in the cluster, it's evaluated from top to bottom, left to right, across tiers. So it comes across the allow Tigera tier. It's kind of our break glass tier. And you can see that we've set up some additional tiers. We've got a tier for the security team, some compliance controls, our firewall controller that it's an integration with Fortinet, and then our platform team, and then we've mocked out a zone-based architecture here in our default tier. And so each one of these tiers is who can apply policy to a particular tier is controlled by Kubernetes RBAC. And so if you've got a security team and only the security team should be managing the policies in that tier, you can use RBAC to ensure that that's the case. And you can see that they're ordered. So what this does is it gives you kind of guardrails around policy management. It lets security teams kind of have the first say, or you can organize this however you want, but this is how typically we see this done. Security teams will have their rules come in first, and then the platform team, and then delegate responsibility down to the developers. You get to take a look at all the changes that have been happening across the cluster. as far as like an audit perspective, all the endpoints inside of this particular cluster, each endpoint is a pod inside of your Kubernetes cluster. You can see the labels and you can see all the network policies that are applied. You can see the nodes. Notice that there's 3, and you can see that this management cluster, this is actually hosted in AWS. And we come down here to the managed cluster, you can see I've already got 2 of them here. I've already added, I've got 2 managed clusters that are in Azure, and these are AKS clusters. And you can see here, if we come back over here to the nodes, for example, I can quickly just browse and just change and browse across the different clusters and see the different nodes in each cluster, giving you this single pane of glass, being able to quickly just get a view into what's running across all my different clusters, and get a sense of whether or not we're seeing any denied traffic, or if there's an issue, maybe someone pushed a bad policy, or you need to troubleshoot. You can do all of this centrally here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually install Calico Enterprise, and then we are going to set up multi-cluster management. So we want to add a managed cluster to the management cluster. Okay, so the first step is here in the left. We need to come down here. Oh wait, here we go. So we need to install Calico Enterprise on the managed cluster. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is pull down this Tigera operator.yaml. And so they have, the instruction here is just to run kubectl create. I've already pulled this down. I tend to I like to curl the YAMLs and pull them down locally instead of just applying them over the internet. It's just my personal preference. You can see here I've got a cluster that I've set up, and we've got a couple of nodes, and we can see that this is just the default install. So I've launched in Azure AKS cluster, and there's nothing else running inside of it. So it's just kind of like the bare bones cluster. And what we're going to do next is we're going to install Calico Enterprise. So the first step was to create the Tigera operator by applying the operator YAML. This is it right here. All right, so let's do that. Okay, and the next step is we need to give it a pull secret. So when you register for a trial, or you do a POC with us, we tend to give you you'll get a pull secret. We'll give you access to the bits of Calico Enterprise. I'm just going to grab that command really quickly from my history, so I don't have to. So I have my pull secret. That's the quay.io. All right. Okay. So that was step 2. We've installed our pull secret. So now we need to install the custom resources. So if you browse to this URL, here, let's do that. Actually, let's look at this. All right. And so the docs are telling us that what we want to do is we want to edit this file, and we want to change the cluster type from, well, let's see right here, the cluster type inside of this YAML file right here. So it starts off as standalone, and what we want to do, move this back over here, is we want to change it to managed. And then we want to remove a couple of different resources from this manifest, because we don't need to have, we're going to centralize the visibility with the management cluster's manager. So we're going to remove the manager, and we're going to remove the log storage, because all of the LMA stack, all the logging, monitoring, alerting, that's all going to be done in the management cluster. And then all of our other clusters, our managed clusters, are going to send their logs to that central location. I've already made these changes locally, so we're just going to apply custom resources.yaml. So you can see here, and we'll just so you can see. You can see I've changed it to a managed cluster, and I have removed the logging and the manager. We'll do create when I have custom resources.yaml. All right. And so let's come down here and see the next step. The next step is we have to apply the manify that we modified in the step to add a managed cluster to the management cluster. Okay, so that's the next part. So what you need to do is to come to your management cluster, and we need to add a new managed cluster. We'll give it a name. We'll call it Calico Demo Cluster. And we can add labels here if we want, but I'm not going to add any right now. We're just going to call it Calico Demo Cluster. I'm going to click Create Cluster. And what it does is it returns to you this manifest, and you can download it. And it also generates these certificates. And this is how we securely connect the managed cluster back to the management cluster. You can just download it, but I don't know. I like to highlight it and just VI a file and then just edit it and save it. It's probably faster just to download it. All right. And so we're going to create that cluster. Okay, so you can see we've got two clusters that are connected, and you can see right now the one that we just created is not connected. It's because we need to create that manifest and join the cluster. So let's see here. We'll call this one demo join.yaml. And I'll paste this in here. And what I'm going to do is save that file, and I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to look and grab the URL from my other YAML file. And we're going to come back here, and we're going to add demo join. All right. So one of the configuration items that you need to add here is you got to give it the management cluster address. The managed cluster will need to be able to connect back out to this endpoint and be able to establish the secure tunnel. All right. So the next thing to do, let's go back to our docs to make sure you're not missing anything, is to be able to apply that YAML. So kubectl create. Nice, demo join. All right. And so now, let's see here. And the next part is to watch the status. All right. So what we should be having here is we should see here in just a little bit that the management cluster connection should come up. The Tigera operator is going to start to do the installation and start to set everything up for us. And I want to just do something really quickly back here in my management cluster. All right, I'll come back here to the one we're working on. And let's do this. Let's just do kubectl get pod. And let's just take a look and see what's going on. All right. So the Guardian, this is the portion of the Calico Enterprise that's going to be making that outbound connection to the managed cluster, the management cluster. And we'll see this start to progress here in just a few seconds here. And so what we're seeing here, this is just a good way to get a view of the current state of your cluster. If you do kubectl get Tigera status, this is how you can monitor the operator-based installation. You can see how Calico was installed, and then the API server, and then we established the connection, the management cluster connection to the managed cluster. And then after that, you'll see the rest of the components start to come up. We come back here now. Oh, you can see it's already connected, so I don't even have to refresh. So now you can see the connection status here is connected. And we're going to come back here, and we're just going to wait for the rest of these components to go to progressing and then go to true. And we can, while we're doing that, just take a look and see. All right, we'll just watch and let this go for just a second here. And let me just check this thing out here. All right, hold on, let me see. Take a look at the management cluster. See these all going. What I'm going to do really quickly is just give this a little kick. Management cluster is up and running. Now I want to come back to the manage cluster. I'm just going to start an operator, get this thing to go real quick. Let me try one more thing real quick, just to kind of speed this up. So right now, what's happening on the management cluster is creating indexes for the management cluster inside of Elastic to be able to centrally store all the flow logs, and we'll show you what those are in just a second. Here, let's look at the management cluster and the managed. Well, it looks like something's going on. Of course, this would happen to me during the middle of the demo. I was doing this earlier without any problems. Let's take a look at here. Get pods real quick. All right, I'm going to come back and troubleshoot this in just a little bit, and we'll just keep going with one of the other managed clusters for now. So you can see that we've got the cluster is connected. We've got this here. But watch this. If we want to, so we're currently looking at the management cluster. But if I come over here and I browse to the Calico demo cluster, you can see that I'm not able to authenticate to the managed cluster because we need to, the authentication is centralized, but the authorization is still controlled on the individual managed clusters. So we need to allow the management cluster the rights to be able to manage and view everything inside of the managed cluster. So we're going to do that right now. I'm just going to quickly copy and paste these cluster role bindings. And I'm logged in as a Tigera admin, and so I'm going to be logged in under the Tigera network admin role. And so now, if we come over here, you see we browse to this particular cluster. Let me just go here. As soon as it's finished being, and as soon as it's done installing, this will turn. Oh, that's what I didn't do. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a dummy. So we need to apply the license. There's your problem. Okay. So now, there we go. All right. So now the Tigera operator is going to finish doing the installation in just a few moments here. There we go. If you guys on the call see me make any more mistakes, feel free to call them out. All right, so we've applied the license, and now we can watch the installation progress. You can watch all the pods being instantiated. We should see some Fluent D pods come up, the compliance pods come up. And then the last step is to be able to apply the Tigera policies manage.yaml, which will apply policy to the components inside of the managed cluster. All right, so everything is finished installing. Let's finish that last step out. Policies managed. All right, there we go. So now let's take a look and see all what we have running inside of our cluster. kubectl get pods, want to say. All right, you can see that we've got Fluent D running here. We can see Guardian is up and running, and this is our connection back into the management cluster. So it looks like everything is good to go, and we have a fully functioning managed cluster. If we come back over here now, all right, we can see that the cluster is registered, and now we can come and we can actually browse around, and you can see that we have just the break glass tier applied, the allow Tigera policies that are going to apply network policy to the components required for the managed cluster. And you can see that there's some traffic here. There's allowed packets per second, and there's no denied packets here. You can see there's some more allowed packets per second going on over here. All right, so we've successfully added a third cluster to our central management plane, to our management cluster, the single pane of glass here, to be able to manage and visualize all of the connectivity, the endpoints, all of the nodes, and then be able to use some of the Calico Enterprise tooling like the flow visualizer. The flow visualizer, what it allows you to do is to be able to inspect all the flows inside of your cluster. If you mouse over the concentric rings, the outside, you can see as I mouse over from little section to section, you can see that the namespace changes. We come over here and we go to like the storefront namespace. If I click on it, I can drill in and I can see all of the flows inside of the storefront namespace. If I click on names, you can see that the next ring is highlighted. As I mouse over, you can see the individual workloads inside of the storefront namespace. You can drill in and see what is the microservice one talking to. It's talking to microservice 2, and it's also doing some DNS lookups. So you get this visibility into all of the connections and all of the flows inside of your cluster. The last tab here is the status, whether or not we want to see all the allowed or denied traffic in the cluster. So you can see right now, if we look at all the denied traffic, you see there isn't any. We don't have any denied traffic. But what we can do actually is we can generate some denied traffic, and I can show you what that looks like. So if we come back over here to the cluster that we just installed, you can see that we have just some basic tiers here. What we'll do next is maybe just kind of set this cluster up real quick. So let's apply some tiers. Come back over here. You can see now we've got a security team tier, a compliance controls tier, firewall controller, platform team tier. Let's keep going. Let's apply the namespaces for our cluster. We've got our storefront namespace, our Acme namespace, the data analytics, payment processing, and one for the Tigera firewall controller. Let's go ahead and apply our network sets. Let's apply our threat feeds. Calico Enterprise has the ability to subscribe to threat feeds and then to dynamically apply policy denying access from workloads leaving your cluster to known bad IP lists. Go ahead and apply that. And then let's apply some network policies. Let's do the pull secrets first. You can see them coming in over here. So what we're doing is we're applying, we've created a new cluster, we've got one and two, and all three of them are in Azure. One is in US East, one's in US East 2. This new one we just did is in US East. So we've got 3 redundant clusters, and we're setting them all to be exactly the same to host our storefront application. So let's go ahead and let's cd into our apps, and let's deploy our storefront application. Storefront. Let's apply our Acme workload, and let's apply our data analysis workload, and let's apply our payment processing workload. All right. So now we've got we have some in the new cluster we just built. We have all of our tiers are set up. So we've got our security team it has a policy to deny any matches to any threat feeds. Here, dynamically applying policy, and because this is over on the left, it means that the platform team and our developers down here are not going to be able to circumvent this policy. This policy is evaluated before the policies to the right, top to bottom, left to right. So you've got some compliance controls ensuring that PCI workloads can only talk to other PCI workloads. You can see that the platform team is allowing Twilio access. They've got a centralized logging policy ensuring that the developers are using the platform team's logging system and not some random one they found on the internet, and just making sure that they're controlling which DNS servers are being used inside of the cluster. And then you can see over here, we've got the storefront application. It has a stage DMZ zone, and then a DMZ zone, a stage trusted zone, a trusted zone, a restricted zone, and then the stage restricted zone, and then the restricted zone. And you can see right now, all the traffic is allowed. And this is the new cluster the new managed cluster that we just built. We come back over here to the flow visualization, and we look and we see it's all allowed, no denied traffic. So what we're going to do now, just for fun, is I'm going to introduce a rogue workload into the cluster, and it's just kind of meant to simulate a compromised pod. Maybe you had an application that was using some third-party library, and unfortunately there was a CVE and it didn't get patched and it was broken into, and this rogue workload is now in your cluster attempting to compromise other workloads inside the cluster. And we're just going to show how Calico Enterprise makes you aware that that's happened, and just kind of like dig into some of the visibility and troubleshooting tooling that we have. So you can see everything right now. It's all green. There's no denied traffic. Let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and deploy this rogue workload. All right. So if we look inside of the storefront namespace, we can see that we've got a backend microservice, a front-end microservice, a logging microservice, and a microservice 1 and 2. So we've got like the typical 3-tiered web application. We've got a web front end, we've got a database backend, and a couple of microservices doing like the business logic. And it appears that we have a rogue workload inside of this namespace too. And that rogue workload is attempting to break into these other microservices in that same namespace. But we have network policies applied to those workloads. And so the rogue workload is going to be denied access to be able to speak to those different workloads. And you can see the packets by policy dashboard is no longer all green. You can see that there's some red in here. And if we just dig in here, you can see it's no longer all allowed. You can see that there's some denied traffic too. We come back here to just the main policy dashboard. You come over, you can see that the DMZ zone, we've got allowed traffic, but now we have denied traffic as well. And if we wanted to kind of dig in a little further with the flow visualization, you guys saw this just a moment ago. If we click on status and we click on denied, in just a little bit, it'll take just probably like a few seconds delay, but we'll start to see some red lines in here showing the traffic between the rogue workload and the different microservices. So let's come back over here to this in just a second. Wanna just take a look, and let's look at the storefront. Yeah, just to take a few seconds for it to load inside of the visualization. The visualization that we're looking at, this is all backed by the Calico Enterprise flow logs. And we'll take a look at those right now. So one of the other benefits of having Calico Enterprise Multi-Cluster Management is it allows you to centralize all the logging, monitoring, and alerting. What we're looking right here, this is the dashboard for Kibana, and we're showing the Tigera Secure Calico Enterprise flow logs. What makes the Calico Enterprise flow log special is we embed all the Kubernetes metadata in the flow logs. Typical flow logs are like the 5 tuple flow logs. You have source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, protocol number. We give you all of that, but we also give you all the Kubernetes metadata associated with the flows inside the cluster. These are the labels that you use to apply policy. You can see that the destination is labels here, or the KSAP is kube DNS. This particular flow, it looks like it's a DNS lookup to the kube system namespace on port 53, and you can see the source, this is Acme microservice 2, so it looks like it's doing a DNS lookup, and you can see the source IP, but you can also see all of the policies that are applied to this particular flow from tier to tier to tier, and then ultimately whether or not that this particular flow was allowed or denied. And this is really the data and the information you need to know to be able to troubleshoot microservices using network policy in Kubernetes. Working for Tigera, I'm kind of spoiled because I have access to this stuff every day, and I don't know. I just think it'd be really. I feel bad for anybody that has to troubleshoot connectivity without the flow logs. This is completely invaluable. All right, so we come back here to the policies. You can see on the dashboard, it's still all red, and let's just see if this made it here. Another thing I wanted to do is let's take a look and see some denied. Is there any denied flows inside here? Yeah, and you can see that the rogue workload that we have, that we launched, is it's sending traffic to the front end, attempting to break in on port 8080, and you can see that the traffic is being denied. The flows are showing you right here. So you have the data here, and then also, let's see, we come here to denied. We look in. We can come mouse over here. Yeah, we can see that this flow right here is the rogue workload attempting to send traffic to the back end and being denied. So that was everything that I wanted to show you guys today. Was kind of just go through Calico multi-cluster management, and then kind of give you a sense for the monitoring, the visibility, and just the ease in which you can manage multiple clusters using Calico Enterprise. I hope you guys found this valuable. Thank you very much for your time. And just just to recap, I just wanted to, if you're interested in trying Calico Enterprise, you want to try out multi-cluster management, you want to view the flow logs in your own environment, feel free to reach out to us. And we also have the Calico Enterprise Accelerator available. It's tigera.io/trial. And keep an eye out for the upcoming events. We have one on the 31st, the 4th of August, and the 6th and the 11th. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Hope you guys found it interesting and useful.